The leader of China, Xi Jinping, is set to be given a historic third term in power this weekend, and the effort to boost his image and popularity is in full swing across the country. State media has headline stories about how poorer towns have been transformed after visits from the president. Our correspondent Celia Hatton reports on how he rose to power.
When he strode onto this stage 10 years ago, signaling he'd become China's new leader, he was a relative unknown. He was supposed to rule alongside these 6 other officials. But now it's clear that he's reshaped the Communist Party, the military, and the government so that he's at the top of it all. Some call him the chairman of everything. So how did he do it? How did he become so powerful? He started out with a bold vision, the China Dream. It unleashed big projects to build things like high-speed rail networks and new global trading routes that aimed to revitalize the whole country. And through viral incidents like this, a visit to a Beijing steamed bun shop, he cultivated a different image for himself, making sure everyone in China knew his story and saw him as the top leader. He reorganized the military, too. By ousting hundreds of generals and replacing them with his allies, he's firmly in control. And let's not forget the ongoing anti-corruption crackdown. This man, Zhou Yongkang, is the former top security chief now in prison for amassing $14 billion in ill-gotten gains. More than 1 million party officials have been punished under Xi, silencing all rivals. The campaign's popular with the public, but it's also bred fear. Xi is at the top of his game, but he faces serious challenges. China's economy is suffering under tight COVID restrictions, and he's made quite a few enemies behind the scenes. China watchers will be looking to see if he begins to delegate any responsibilities, sharing the power and also the blame. Celia Hatton, BBC News.
Live to Beijing now, Dr. Henry Wang is the president of the think tank Center for China and Globalization. Thank you for joining us, sir. My colleague Celia there highlighted some of the issues that might be playing on President Xi Jinping's mind there. And I understand that the Congress rarely reveals an agenda for what might be discussed. But how do you understand the issues at play? What might they be talking about?
Yes, thank you. And what I think that upcoming 20th Party Congress is very significant. Basically, CPC holds this every 5 years. And then for this 5 years, a big Congress, about 2,000, almost 300 delegates will come, and they will elect a central committee, and then they will elect Politburo members, and then they will elect a standing committee. So I understand this conference, actually, 20th Party Congress, is a summary of what has been achieved in the last 5 years, and what will be achieved again for the next 5 years, the goal that they're going to set for this new conference. So basically, we're going to expect more, new cohort of leaders, of governors, party secretary, ministers coming up. We're going to have a new 5-year plan. Basically, China has secured the first centennial plan, which is the party 100-year anniversary that they have elevated the hundreds of millions of property, okay. And now they're going to have the second centennial plan, which is going to build China into a modernized society by 2049. Okay,
you sound very optimistic, sir. And one other aspect of this Congress that is expected is that Xi Jinping will get an unprecedented third term in office. That is the sense that we are getting. And there are concerns linked to that this will only tighten his grip and control over China, and a sense that he seems to have more control over the country than his predecessors. Where do you stand on that?
Well, I think there's, if President Xi is capable and very competent, there's no reason why he cannot continue. I mean, we see Angela Merkel has served 16 years as the Chancellor of Germany. So what has been President Xi achieved in the last decade, basically since he took the leadership? We see China GDP doubled. We see China actually, lifted over 120 million people out of poverty in the past decade. And we see China become the largest trading nation in the world. And so China actually, we added the 50 Fortune 500 company to the Fortune 500 list. So there's a lot of past performance that paved the way for some new leadership. So I think that people are expecting continuity. We don't want to ups and downs and back and forth and all those politics we see in some other countries. So I think this is good for China to have a 5-year plan, after another 5-year plan. We have an objective to continue to pass on. Yeah.
Okay, you talk about him as a stabilising force, but there have been concerns from China watchers at least that this hasn't always been the case. A good example of this are some of the COVID lockdowns that some people thought as possibly unnecessary, possibly too harsh and possibly without sufficient resources. So that, of course, linked to the aspect of poverty that some people haven't necessarily benefited as much as others.
I think so. Yeah, you raised the question, but that's really, I think, have to give a special consideration of China because you have 1.4 billion people. I mean, it's not evenly developed. Many areas still not very poor in terms of medical handling. So we cannot allow that this 1% death or something happen like we see in other countries, because that would be a huge number for China. But I think China is really getting that under control. We have only a few thousand casualties in terms of death from COVID, and then we have actually developed a methodology of tracing, testing, and contain the virus. So I'm confident. I mean, as this virus comes down, that Hong Kong is opened already, and Beijing is having its international marathon resumed on November 6th.
Okay.
We may see some new things coming up.
There is much more I'd like to talk to you about, sir, but we will have to leave it there. Thank you for your time here on BBC World News.
Thank you.